Mass Effect 4 leaked information, legit or a bunch of BS? That's what I'm trying to talk about here in this commentary. What's up, everybody? It's Kevin here, once again, talking to you about some more video games. This time again, more Mass Effect 4, because I am still super jacked for this game. As a longtime fan of the Mass Effect series, I cannot wait for this next game to come out, so any little tidbit of information I get, I want to just spew my brains all over it and put it on the internet to see what people think about my ideas and what your guys' ideas are as well. So recently there was a Reddit post talking that this person did a survey, and this survey had a lot of information about Mass Effect 4 apparently, and he put it up on Reddit for us to read and speculate about. Now a lot of times when this kind of information gets released about video games, a lot of it's kind of like up to interpretation or whether you think it's real or not, but apparently a lot of information for Dragon Age Inquisition was leaked through a survey as well, very similar to this. A lot of information that was leaked through that survey was actually correct. So this could be the same kind of thing, but with Mass Effect. So that's what I want to talk about in this video, is my thoughts on this information. You can read it yourself. I will link the Reddit post down below for you guys to read the entire thing, because if I was going to read the entire thing in this video, it would be at least 45 minutes long. Again, let me reiterate that this is leaked information. Take this with a grain of salt, interpret this information, don't take it as truth. And this video is going to be more of my just thought process if I think this information is legit. If you think it is, or you have your own opinions on this information, please leave a comment down below about it. I read all the comments and reply to almost all of them as well. Without further ado, let's just jump into this. So, first thing that gets mentioned in there is that this will be taking place in the Helios cluster in the Andromeda galaxy, and saying that there are hundreds of solar systems in the Andromeda galaxy, that this universe that we're going to be experiencing is 4 times larger than the space of Mass Effect 3, which sounds all great and dandy, but then I actually kind of thought about this, like how are we going to be in the Andromeda galaxy? Now I've done some research with the Mass Effect Wikipedia page, and they mentioned nothing about the Andromeda galaxy. Mass Effectpedia page tried to translate it all from, I think it's Russian or whatever, mentioned nothing about the Andromeda galaxy as well. It's a completely different galaxy. Makes me think, how the hell are we there in the first place? Now watch out here, I'm going to spew some math for you. Andromeda galaxy is 2.5 million light years away. That's a pretty long distance in the void of space. That's how long it would take us traveling at the speed of light to get to the Andromeda galaxy. Pretty damn long time. Now I know we do have the faster than light travel in the Mass Effect universe, but even then, the Mass Effect wiki page mentions that faster than light travel can be at least 50 times the speed of light, which that number is 14,989,622,900 meters per second. But for math's sake, let's just round it up to 15 billion. So traveling at 15 billion meters per second, 50 times the speed of light, it'd still take you 50,000 years to get to the Andromeda galaxy. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to travel that way. Now, of course, we do have the Mass Effect relays, which I tried looking up the speed of that. It doesn't really necessarily have a speed, because it kind of just teleports you instantly, but it's not really a teleporting, it just shoots you through space from A to B very quickly. So it's not like a teleporting thing, it shoots you from relay to relay. So even then, traveling from one galaxy to another through A to B space travel, being that accurate from a distance of the void of space that's 2.5 million light years away, I find that hard to believe that you can be that accurate. So taking a Mass Effect relay, I don't think would really make a whole lot of sense, or if it's even really possible. Now obviously you can play with the idea of wormholes, where you can warp space and time to kind of cut through it. Again, the Mass Effect universe hasn't really mentioned anything about wormholes, that they're not in this context of Mass Effect. So the fact that we are in the Andromeda galaxy doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, it makes sense unless we're gonna play around with the idea of the origin of species happens in the Andromeda galaxy and somehow we migrated over to the Milky Way, or vice versa. I'm not totally sure, but again, they state though in this post that the events that are taking place for this next Mass Effect game are completely different space and time from what you know of Mass Effect. So I find that if we're going to be in the Andromeda galaxy, you'll have to just write in some way that we are there. Because not just humans, there's Krogans, there's other species as well in the Andromeda Andromeda Galaxy. I just find that location to be a little far-fetched, but again, it's sci-fi, you can probably write it in somehow. They'd be saying that you're playing as a Pathfinder, which is a trained fighter, but he's been untested, which is something I mentioned before in the previous Mass Effect 4 video, saying that this gives the player the opportunity to play as themselves in the next Mass Effect game, rather than playing as somebody in Mass Effect. This completely opens up the door to a lot more customization and for more unique player interactions. So I can totally believe the whole Pathfinder idea. They said that the basic premise of this game is that you're colonizing this area, you know, building up infrastructure, obtaining resources, making friends, foes, interacting with different races, things like that. Which sounds pretty interesting. I'm all for almost like an economy game within this game, which would be a new aspect to Mass Effect, which I'm all for. I think it'd be a really interesting thing to do. Another thing here where I feel like the information that was leaked can be a little BS, or maybe it's not completely true, is the Remnant. What the Remnant are, they're a mysterious alien race with forgotten technology that hold the key to gain power within this galaxy. Sound very similar? Like the Protheans? Yes. We all know that the Protheans didn't exactly make this technology, but we didn't find that out until Mass Effect 3 for sure. So basically, they're just gonna be copy and pasting the idea of the Protheans and their ancient technology, a masterful alien race that's disappeared for so many generations. I feel like that's just playing it too safe, or it's too similar to the Protheans that you're just basically just copy and pasting an idea into Mass Effect 4. I feel like if we're gonna do any copy and pasting with Mass Effect 4, that it will have cut down the development time drastically. Obviously, yeah, we're playing on a new engine, new consoles, new everything, new universe. But I don't think it would take this long to make the next Mass Effect game. If it was just gonna be a copy and paste of the same kind of ideas from Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, we would be already playing the new Mass Effect game. And obviously, we're gonna have a crew, because that's a big part of Mass Effect, and all your crew members will have unique abilities and personalities like we've experienced in the previous games. In this post, they actually mentioned some unique characters like Cora with a bubble shield, sounding very similar to possibly, you know, that mission in Mass Effect 2, where you have to pick who you want to be, you know, creating your Mass Effect bubble shield to get through all the seeker swarms. So I feel like, again, another copy and paste part of the game that doesn't seem like it would be part of Mass Effect because it's just been done before. And obviously the name is Cora, so that obviously means Cora from Tron is confirmed. Olivia Wilde, you so sexy. They mentioned another character named Drac, who is a Krogan. Again, how did all the familiar species from Mass Effect get from the Milky Way galaxy, make it to the Andromeda galaxy? I don't know. Maybe they just mislabeled the Andromeda part as Milky Way. We'll see. On a side note, Drac is slang for unattractive, which I think would be very fitting for a Krogan. Now, if you're going to be building up colonies, settlements, obtaining resources through those settlements, building infrastructure for the next Mass Effect game, you could probably assume that there's going to be some bad guys out there who'd be like, well, I just want to take that. This is where the idea of apparently deployed strike team missions come in. Essentially, the way it sounds like it's going to work is that have random missions pop up that you're like, hey, you're getting an attack here, send your squad mates over there to go handle this stuff. Now, to me, this sounds also very similar to like the missions that you would get in Mass Effect 2 from Admiral Hackett, where he would just kind of come out of nowhere and be like, Shepard, I got some shit going down here in this one system. Do you have a chance to help me? Like a Hackett impression, pretty spot on, I know, exactly. So again, another copy and paste element. I find it kind of hard to believe that's how it would work out. Plus, it sounds like these deployed strike missions you won't be involved with, but it might be a kind of a play on like, won't be able to use these squad mates for X amount of time, so they'll have like a cooldown or something like that. There are also the deployed strike missions as well as the active strike missions, which it's the same thing, but you're playing with actual players to help you play against AI characters that are attacking your settlements, which could be pretty fun, not gonna lie. Now, the multiplayer has also been mentioned with this, saying that it's gonna be a horde mode like multiplayer, which sounds like the exact same thing as Mass Effect 3. And you'll also be earning upgrades, you'll be getting different equipment and stuff like that, but this time you'll be earning what's called Apex, which is in-game currency used to buy items that are in the campaign. Again, if the multiplayer is just going to be a copy and paste element to the next Mass Effect game, I feel like we'd be already playing this game. Now, this is not going to be a safe game for BioWare. If you're gonna make a safe game, you just make Mass Effect 4 with Shepard somehow, maybe like an early story of like the first contact words and you're playing as Commander Shepard. That's a safe game. This Mass Effect 4 game, for what BioWare has been building up, doesn't sound like a safe game where it's the exact same experience you've had, just with a new story, same universe, same characters, things like that. And so if you're going to be putting in the exact same kind of multiplayer into your game, I feel like that we'd already be playing this game by now. I feel like there's going to be some kind of implementation when it comes to the multiplayer along with the single player. Again, that's just my opinion. Don't get me wrong though, the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer was freaking awesome. Further along in this post, they actually mention raids. Now, if you guys know from my Mass Effect MMO video that I made recently, this is a MMO element coming to Mass Effect. Now, apparently Borderlands did a similar thing, but you only had 4 players on your team, so it wasn't necessarily an MMO, but it's not necessarily a raid either. In Borderlands, it's more just kind of like a major boss where you can play with players. He will drop good loot. The way they're going to implement raids into Mass Effect is the Remnant Vault raids. Sounds kind of similar to the Vault of Glass, I'm just saying. Basically, you'll be going into this cave, it locks you off in the back, you gotta fight your way through, and at the end, you get loot like gear, crafting resources, and star keys. Which star keys can be used to go into Super Vault raids, which have, higher difficulty, basically the same thing. Now, this kind of idea can be implemented into Mass Effect without actually being like an MMO kind of game, because where a similar idea has been implemented into Diablo 3, what are called rifts. Basically, you have a point A that you start, and at the end, there's a boss that you fight that can drop good loot, crafting resources, and keys. And these keys can get you into greater rifts, which are similar to rifts, but what they are, they're timed and they have a better chance of getting you more loot, better crafting items, etc. So this might bring an MMO element to Mass Effect without actually making it an MMO. Possibilities, again, is all speculation, and this is all just leaked information. So again, interpret it how you will. And also they mentioned about the Keth Outpost, which to me sounds like the Mass Effect multiplayer, but offline. Basically, you fight waves of enemies with your squad mates taking it over. Now, having something like the Keth Outpost gameplay, as well as the multiplayer, as well as active strikes, they all sound very similar. And I find it hard to believe that these 3 elements would all be separate entities within the game, unless these elements offer certain types of rewards that are different from each other to give you reasons why to play these, because they all just kind of sound like the same thing, where you're teaming up with either your squad mates or your friends to fight waves of enemies. And lastly, for all of us who's been following Mass Effect 4 information, we all know that the Mako is coming back. They mentioned that the Mako is going to have a lot more customization. You can upgrade the power, the look of it, all that fun stuff, which is something I'm actually looking forward to, because I actually kind of missed the planetary exploration that was in Mass Effect 1, and apparently they're bringing it back in to Mass Effect 4. So that's about it for the information that has been leaked about Mass Effect 4. Personally, I can see the ideas of some of these things being implemented into Mass Effect, especially the raid aspect. I feel that things like the horde mode that's going to be in it sounds way too similar to Mass Effect 3's multiplayer. I feel like the multiplayer is going to be integrated into the single player somehow, to where it's like an always online kind of thing. The possible building of infrastructure and colonies that help you collect resources to help you upgrade your gear. It sounds like a very interesting part. Kind of brings you almost like an RTS element into Mass Effect. I'm all for that. That sounds awesome. The Pathfinder idea, you're playing as a Pathfinder, a trained but untested fighter. I think that's totally gonna happen. Though, having this all take place in the Andromeda Galaxy, unless they write it in somehow, I find it to not really be that possible. Of course, this leaked information could have just been misinterpreted as the Andromeda Galaxy. I tried looking up the Helios cluster to see if it's even a real thing. I couldn't find it. I don't really believe it's gonna be taking place in the Andromeda Galaxy unless it gets written in somehow, but other than that, some of this information does seem like it could be legit. A lot of it doesn't seem like it though. So, what do you guys think about it in the comment section down below? Please, I would highly suggest checking out the description down below. Read that link, read the information with a mind to set up. Yeah, this could be real. This could also be just a bunch of BS. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I greatly appreciate it. Like the video if you enjoyed listening to it. It really helps out the channel. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace out.